Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Gwe. Today I want to share with you something that I read. It's a statement, a journal entry from a former Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, a famous Stoic. When I read it, it spoke to me, and I thought maybe I could share that with you. Marcus Aurelius says, "Joy for human beings lies in proper human work. And proper human work consists in acts of kindness of other human beings, kindness to other human beings, disdain for the stirrings of the senses, identifying trustworthy impressions, and contemplating the natural order and all that happens in keeping with it." I'm a big fan of the idea that we should find our purpose in life. That if a human being can find purpose, a human being can do anything. A human being can get through anything. It comes from the time that I've spent studying logotherapy and the teachings of Viktor Frankl. When a person finds purpose, they have all they need to carry on in this life. Now Aurelius here, he's sort of alluding to that, isn't he? Joy for the human being lies in proper human work. Joy, our joy, is found when we engage in our purpose. And our purpose, paraphrasing what Aurelius says, our purpose consists of 4 different things. 4 things that I believe must be held in balance. The first is acts of kindness to other human beings. The second is a disdain for the stirrings of the senses, a disdain, a desire to avoid things that get us all riled up, a desire to avoid things that captivate us and grab us and pull us in artificially, just by connecting to us, by connecting to our senses, by connecting to our passions, identifying trustworthy impressions, finding teachers who can lead us forward, finding people, finding writings, finding works that help us to grow. Things that we can trust will take us in the direction we need to be going. And finally, purpose is found in the contemplating of natural order and all that happens in keeping with it. Contemplating the universe, contemplating God, contemplating the gods, contemplating energy, contemplating how this whole thing, how this place we find ourselves operates. Perhaps we do it on a macro scale where we look around and think about the planets and all that there is out there floating around, especially the things that we don't even know about, or maybe it's just because we're looking at a blade of grass and wondering, how did it get this way? These 4 things make up the purpose of being a human being in some fashion, right? Like it's not about just going out and doing acts of kindness. We have a call to do a very particular work. It's not just about contemplating the entirety of the universe. No, maybe it's a matter that we contemplate a very, very particular aspect of the universe. It's not about finding all the trustworthy teachers and studying all the trustworthy teachers, but rather the teachers that, again, as I said, will take us in the direction we need to go. And it's not a matter of putting all of our passions aside, but recognizing that sometimes we become led by our passions, and we become led in ways that don't do us any good. This is where we find our joy, when we find our purpose. And for what it's worth, if you look at the teachings of Jesus, What does Jesus, about these four things, what does Jesus say? Acts of kindness? Absolutely. Acts of mercy, acts of compassion, and acts of charity. Take care of the people around you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. When he talks about the stirring of the senses, Jesus tells us to be leery of all the earthly rewards, of all the things that we work for here. He warns us about giving into the desires of the flesh. They take us away from being the people we're supposed to be. Trustworthy teachers, Jesus tells us about trustworthy teachers too. He warns us, stay away from certain people. They're not leading you in the right direction. He gives us an understanding of who we can trust. People who, you'll recognize them by the fruit that they produce, by the love that they share. These are trustworthy sources. And finally, contemplating, Jesus is often telling us about prayer, often telling us about contemplation of God, instructing us on how to begin our conceptualization of a conversation with God. Jesus calls us to purpose, the purpose of living a life like him. And in his life, you see this meditation from Aurelius. You see acts of kindness. You see physical work in the world for neighbors. You see somebody who is moving away from the stirring of the senses, who's leery to that, does not trust that. You see the desire to find trustworthy sources of information and teaching. And you definitely see someone who is contemplating the nature and the workings of the universe. And this isn't restricted to Christianity. This understanding of purpose, this understanding of how purpose is found and the balance that is within our purpose, it transcends how many various religions, how many philosophies, how many ways of life. Sometimes the best truths aren't limited. Not sometimes. Always. The best truths are not limited to one belief system or another. They're things that you see in every or most belief systems. People will ask me sometimes, how do I know that is a true statement of God, a true godly message? And it's exactly for that reason. It transcends. It transcends language, it transcends culture, it transcends societies, it transcends centuries, it transcends faith. It's just true. No matter where you are, no matter where you've been, no matter who you are, no matter who you believe in, those truly godly messages, they're there. They're there, and they're reachable. May the Lord bless you, may the Lord keep you, may the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray that today you and I can recognize this particular godly truth. Our joy, our life is found in our purpose. And our purpose is a balance of our acts of kindness towards others, our desire to be leery of the stirring of the senses, our desire to find trustworthy sources of information, trustworthy teachers, and our desire to think about, to meditate on how the universe around us is. Amen. Nemultus.